For an issue I'm working on, like how do I come up with a proposal or even a plan for an issue that I'm working on?
Yeah. This is a tough one. I'm not gonna like being able to come up with a plan, some kind of implementation plan. It's a skill that does take some experience. I can give you some tips that can help. And let me read out the exact wording from one of the industry partners who wanted this criteria. He said this was Shalom Gar, and what he wanted was he said the proposal should break down the problem into a series of steps or smaller pieces. So I'm going to emphasize that phrase, smaller pieces. If it were me, this is usually what I would do. Uh, Suppose it's a feature that I don't quite know how to do yet. I would try to divide it up into pieces and try to simplify the problem in certain ways, until I was able to simplify it enough or identify a small enough piece that my brain could kind of process it in some way. So, for example, I I once had to work on an issue for the WeVote project where I was refactoring the code base to use a new build process, to use Webpack instead of their old build process, which was Gulp. Really complicated. I didn't know anything about Webpack. I didn't know anything about Gulp. I never worked with a build process before. And so what I did was I simplified the problem. I said, you know what? I'm not even going to worry about the whole like WeVote at all. I'm just going to make my own dummy app, like a one pager even, and I'm just going to build it with Webpack. I'll go through a Webpack tutorial and prove to myself that I can at least get a one page website to build properly. And that was the simplest piece I could think of. And then my next step was, okay, once I have that working, then I'm going to try to take exactly one step from the build process, the way it used to be done with Gulp, and just somehow translate that into Webpack. And then once I got that one done, then I tried to move on to the next one. There was like there are a bunch of build process steps listed in the Gulp file. Um, so anyway, if I were to write that as a plan on the issue, I might have written something like this. I might have said, okay, here's how I'm going to approach this task. I'm just going to start out making a dummy Hello World app and build it with Webpack, and then I'm going to take the Gulp process task by task, and just one by one, I'll try to translate it from Gulp to Webpack. I might even made a guess. Like, I think I'm going to start with this, like these tasks from Gulp, because these ones seem the simplest and easiest, and I'll save like XYZ for last because that seems like the most challenging. And maybe that would be my plan. That would be my whole plan. And I could have potentially gotten feedback even on that from the maintainer. So that's roughly what I would have done. And I haven't even talked about AI yet. So nowadays, with the AI tools, you can leverage that. You can definitely leverage the AI to help you. So you could even take the question that I just gave and feed it into the AI somehow. Now, let me preface this with some caveats. I'm going to assume before you ask the AI for help that you have done a few things. I would say, number one, you should have tried to understand the issue. If it's a bug, you should reproduce the bug. You should have explored the code base, try to identify some relevant files, put print statements throughout the code, try to understand what the functions are doing, what the files are doing. And then you want to summarize all your findings and copy paste that in as context into the AI. You can say, this is what I've learned so far. And then you can paste in the issue. You can say, here's the issue I'm working on. And you could give a prompt like the following. You could say, tell me how I could proceed with this feature in steps or phases or pieces. How can you divide this up into smaller pieces? What's the simplest possible thing I could do? What's the simplest possible way I could implement this? Now, here's where you can also validate what the AI gives you. The AI might produce some output, and by validate, what I mean is you can check if do those pieces make sense to you? Is there even one piece that your brain can digest? If not, then the AI hasn't really done its job. And so you can give the AI feedback on that. You can say, you know what, I actually don't understand what that piece does. Can you simplify it further? Can you make that piece even smaller? And keep iterating with the AI until you arrive at least one piece that actually makes sense to you, that your brain can digest. And then you can take that, whatever the result of all that is, the pieces, the steps, and then you can turn that into a question or some kind of a proposal that you can write as a comment on the GitHub thread, and then you can get feedback on your plan. Now, I will again emphasize. I'll just give you a couple of warnings here. Just be careful about copy pasting the exact output from the AI into the issue thread, mainly because the AI tends to be quite verbose. Those responses are pretty lengthy, and you don't want to paste a very lengthy plan as a comment, because the maintainers might not like that. You're kind of creating more work for the maintainers. So whatever the AI gives you, I would definitely shorten it, make it brief, and say it in your own words. And then, the last thing, I already said it, but just I'll emphasize it again. Just make sure you do your own research, like understand the code base, the issue, and feed that in as context to the AI. I would not tell the AI. I wouldn't just blindly point the AI at the issue without any context and tell it, come up with a plan. The AI tends to struggle with that. In my experience, if you can provide even a little bit of context, a little bit of research that you've done about the relevant parts of the code, it's like a night and day difference in terms of the quality of the plan that the AI will give you. Okay, so there you go. I know this is a tough one, but those are my recommendations for how to go about getting started, at least on coming up with a plan.